Hi everyone, it's craftytinas. Today's video is going to talk about the Crop A Dile versus the Big Bite for adding eyelets to your notebooks that you made with your We Are Memory Keepers cinch. I have a lot of videos on how to make these notebooks, so if you're interested in the notebooks, please go check them out. This video is how to use these two tools and how to decide which one of these two tools you need in your craft room. I'm going to tell you right now my craft room needs both of them. That's probably not true for everyone, but I want to show you what they do, what their limits are, how easy they are to use, so that you can make the best decision for which one you want to purchase. Now, both of these set the same size eyelets, which is the 3/16 and the 1/8. This is the 3/16. These are very common and popular on Amazon. You can get them in a wide variety of colors. You can get them in regular size or even the wide size. They still have the same size hole, which is the 3/16. I actually don't have any of the 1/8 to show you. We are basically going to talk about the 3/16 that do not have the washer for the back. This is the most common one. They're readily available everywhere. You do not need the We Are Memory Keeper brand. They are more expensive, but they do have some really pretty colors. You just need to make sure they are the 3/16. So both of these machines cut the hole and set the eyelet. Both of these machines will do both sizes, the 1/8 and the 3/16. Both of these machines are made by We Are Memory Keepers, and they're both very good quality. They are solid metal. The only plastic is this little guide and the encasings around the different tips. There's nothing chintzy about these. They have nice rubberized handles. The Big Bite has feet. So you have to hold this one in your hand and squeeze. This one you can hold in your hand, but it's awkward, especially one-handed. It's heavy. It's very awkward, but you can do it. This one has feet, so you can set it up on your desk or table and just press down. More like a punch or a push than a squeeze. So if you have hand issues where squeezing is a problem, now it does not require any force to squeeze. I don't want you to think it's hard to squeeze. It's a reach. I have small hands. I'm only 5 foot tall, so my hand's reach is small. I can still do it perfectly fine. There's no amount of pressure. Like closing it empty is the same amount of pressure as if you had something in here. It's a very well made machine. Tool. It's not a machine. This one has the same thing. It's very easy. But keep in mind, you're going to have to hold something if you're holding it in your hand. It is a very large reach for me. It does better on the surface and pressing down. But then you have to look at it from this angle. So you have to bend down and look at it. Still not a problem. Neither one of those is a bad thing. Some people prefer the squeezing motion over the pushing down. Let's talk storage. This is the Big Bite, and it's called that because of the amount of space you have to put your item in. It is more than twice the size of your Crop A Dile. This is also called a Crop A Dile, but they call it the Crop A Dile Big Bite. This is just the Crop A Dile. And this one just says We Are Memory Keepers. I thought this had Crop A Dile on it. This one actually says We Are Memory Keepers on one side and Crop A Dile 2 on the other. So I think this means it's the second version. This one I've only had about a month. This one I've had about 10 years. Or at least it feels like 10 years. I don't know exactly when this came out. They are pricey. You have to watch for them on sale, watch for an Amazon coupon, watch for them on sale in your craft store. But they are worth it. They're not like a paper punch, like a little circle paper punch is going to wear out in a few years. These are going to last. These are going to last forever. You're not going to need to replace them unless you abuse them and cut and punch things that you're not supposed to punch with them. We need these to add elastic using the eyelets inside our notebooks. and elastic to close our notebooks, and elastic to hold things on our notebooks, such as crayons or pens, or to close our books and add pens. So there's a number of reasons we need these, and the type you need is going to be basically what you're doing. Let's talk about how to store these. Again, really big, really small. I keep my eyelets in a pencil box, and I just have them in a Ziploc in 2 little containers. This one, the Crop A Dile, fits perfectly. I don't even need to close and lock it. I've got it there ready to go. The lid fits and it goes on a shelf. Let this one, because it's double the size, won't fit in my pencil box. I am going to store it on, let me see if I can show you. This is a shelf. It's a very, very narrow shelf. It's only that deep. But this is where I keep my punch boards. So I'm going to store this, because it has feet, on this little shelf, because it goes the entire distance of my craft table. So although I'm going to have this out and readily available, some people don't have that option. Another thing you can do is, this is a drawer. It comes in a frame that holds 3 of these drawers. I'm sure you've seen these little things in Walmart and craft stores. There's the name brand. This is wonderful for your craft room. It will hold this and your eyelets. So this is an option for storage. You can label the front and have a great place for your supplies. I use that for my wires for my cinch as well. I know this looks like a hot mess, but I actually can get the wires out that I need. As long as you don't move them around too much, you can get the wires you need. That can be a hot mess, so you need to be a little careful. Another thing I use these drawers for is my button press. It holds my pieces, my button parts, anything I want, using these little dollar store pencil trays within the actual drawer. And I put on the outside what is in that drawer. This is the small round button press parts. This makes a great storage for these, because this was a mess in the craft room and it was going everywhere. Now I can keep everything in one place for that specific size. So that's just a storage tip, because I know it's important to maximize the space in the craft room. So now let's take these out and let's talk about what we're going to do with them. They punch the same, they set the eyelets the same. It's just a little bit different where. On the Crop A Dile, the punched hole is done on the outside. You look through this little space to see the circle. The blade comes out and punches your perfect little hole. You set your eyelet using the top part here. For example, if I want to punch my hole, I simply put the item I want, and the deepest I can go is 1 inch. That's as furthest I can go for my notebook and can punch the hole. With this, the hole is punched back here, but I have all of this distance. So if I wanted to put a hole all the way on this side of my notebook with the big bite, I can. With the Crop A Dile, 1 inch is as far as I can go. I can't go any further. So if I wanted an eyelet in the middle of this page, I would have to have this to punch that hole and set the eyelet. That is the difference between these two, is how you squeeze it and how much distance you have to set the eyelet. Once you punch the hole, setting the eyelet is super easy. And we're just going to set one without a piece of elastic so that you can see how it works. It goes through the hole. This is the back rough edge, and this is the pretty front edge. The pretty front edge goes into the knob or A. This can do multiple things. This is the 3/16 eyelet. We have A for the top and 1 for the bottom. I am not going to do any of these. This is the majority of what I do. I will get some of these and do them in another video if you're interested in learning more. But for now, this is all we're doing. So we need to set it to A on the top, 1 on the bottom. There's no instructions, really bad instructions, but this guide is crucial. I'm actually going to copy this guide and laminate it to hang on to it, because I must have lost it for this one. But the same exact cube chart goes to both. This is the cube. You pull it down and you can move it to 2 different sides. And it's super hard. You're not going to see this on the camera. But this has a very, very small A right there in that corner. Right there. You guys, it's so small. But that means this is A. And that's what I want to use, so it needs to face the middle. And that clicks back up. This is A. This one over here has a very, very tiny C. And this is B. This is A. And this is D. All of them do a different function. For what I do, I only need A. So I'm going to put A here and push this up. Now down here, they're numbers. I need a 1. This is 4. Turn it. 3. Turn it again. 2. And this is 1. I don't want to see 1. I want 1 to be on the inside to match up to my A. So now I have 1 here and A here. And that's what I need to set a 3/16 eyelet. It is the same on here as on this one. I'm going to put my eyelet in the hole. The pretty side up is what goes in this little spring-loaded prong. That is where you're going to put inside. It's so hard to show on film. That goes in the pretty hole of the eyelet. The back side is now going to be squished and split so that it sticks into the card. This is chipboard. It sticks into whatever you're going into. And the top remains the pretty little circle. And that is how you set one in either machine. The only difference is the cutting mechanism in this one is not on the side. It is actually way in here. The cutting mechanism is here. It gets adjusted up here. The 3/16 cuts the bigger hole. If I adjust it to the 1/8, it cuts the smaller hole. So the 3/16, same size, cuts here. So if this is here, you have to bend down so that you can see where it's cutting. I'm going to try to get you all the way down here. So you can see the actual prong going up and down. You would simply make a mark on your chipboard where you want your hole. Put it inside and press down. So we pressed down instead of squeezing in order to get this is giving me grief because I'm like talking about it. There we go. There's a locking mechanism on this one. It locks it closed or locks it open. This one doesn't have that, and I actually prefer it not. I don't lock this one. But the hole is the same. Now in order to set an eyelet in the big bite, it is the same process. You need to put the eyelet in the hole. And now we are setting it using the blocks up here. So we have to change our top from a 3/16 hole, 1/8 hole, to the actual eyelet set. This allows this to come down, not our cutting. Once you have it in the hole, pretty side goes face up, because remember, we are setting this on the counter. We're not holding it in our hand. I'm trying to get you guys the best view. You're going to hold this and press down slightly to that little knob. It goes inside. And then you know you have it lined up properly. And then press down. And now we have set both eyelets the exact same way, 2 different machines, but the same eyelet. You get the same look, the same press, everything is exactly the same. It's the reach that's different and how you press it. So if you want a longer reach, which I will show you, we're going to put a piece of elastic on one of these books, or you have arthritis or something else with your hand, this is the one you want. If you don't need the longer reach, you want it to be more compact for your craft room, this is the one you want. So let's go back. And now let's add a piece of elastic to one of our notebooks. We're going to start with little Eeyore here. This was my matching up flashcard book. He definitely needs a piece of elastic, just so they don't move around. It can be closed so that it can go into a book, into a bag or something. So I want my elastic not to go too far away, so I don't want to cover him up. Let's go with green, or is there too much green? Let's go with blue. This is why you want colored elastic, because the choices are endless. So I'm just going to take a piece of elastic big enough to wrap around the front and go to the back. And that's all I need, is that much elastic. Put my scissors away and shouldn't have. Again, your piece of elastic is going to vary based on how thick your notebook is and how big your notebook is. But you basically want it to wrap around, and then you're going to secure it with an eyelet. So the first thing we need to do is make sure we're in the back of the book, and we are, and we need to punch our holes. We can use this one because we're going close to the edge of the book. So what I want is I want to put my eyelet. I want to do the same distance on both sides. So I'm basically using the 1 inch. I'm going in 1 inch, and I'm going to line up the side of the book with this little black thing here. This is just a personal preference. The problem is there's none on this side, and I'm trying to get these to match. So basically I'm going to eyeball it. You want to punch a hole on one side. Try to get it as big as you think it is on both sides. You can get out the ruler, you can measure, you can make your little marks, you can put it anywhere you want it. So now that I have the holes, I want to set the eyelets. Because your choices are endless, I'm just going to grab 2 blue ones. Let's make it match. Sometimes I like to match, and sometimes I like to make it different. I'm going to set this to the side. We have our 2 eyelets and our 1/4 inch elastic. I simply need to feed this elastic in, giving it just a little bit on the back side, just enough to hold it. From the outside, because that's where I want the pretty side, I'm going to put my eyelet in. And now I'm ready to clamp onto the eyelet. The pretty side gets the knob, so I'm going to put my machine on the eyelet, the little knob going inside, and then I just squeeze. And that sealed my eyelet into the book. Just pull and cut. Because I use the same color, you can't see that there's a little bit of elastic there, and that's great. So now I want to come all the way around and go into this hole. I don't want this to be tight, and I don't want it to be baggy. Because this book is thin, I don't need a lot of elastic to go around. So the way I have been doing it is just smooth, not tight, maybe just a tiny bit tight so that it's perfectly smooth. The first thing I want to do is from the back, feed in this piece of elastic. And you can cut a point onto your elastic if you want, especially the second piece really helps. Don't bother burning your piece of elastic to keep it from fraying because you're about to cut it off. So in the hole, which I can't do because I'm reaching around the camera. There we go. I want to pull it in, and I want it to be snug, but not tight, not pulled. Just snug enough that it's not pulling the book at an angle. And that's where I want to set it. So I hold this back and move that over. And now I'm ready for my eyelet. I put it inside. The knob goes into the pretty side. And then I close. I moved this over with my finger and held this with my hand. Now I can pull and cut. And I have a piece of elastic attached to the back page of my book. So that when I move that, close my book, I have a piece of elastic that wraps all the way around. And now my book is secure and it can go inside a purse or a bag and not be complicated or get anything crazy messed up. And that is how you add a strap to close it, using the Crop A Dile. We did not need the big bite for this example because we were using our eyelets close to the edge because this is as far in as it would go. So now let's do one where we can use the big bite because we can't use the Crop A Dile. This one is already done, but I wanted to explain how I would have used this on this book. I had to do an X to hold the crayons instead of one strap across. I prefer one strap across, but there's no way I would have been able to get this eyelet in here because this is the center of the book and this only goes 1 inch. But I would have loved to have had only 2 eyelets and 1 piece of elastic for this book. This is what made me go ahead and break down and buy this. I'd been postponing it, but there was just no other way to do it. I want to be able to reach and put the eyelet anywhere I want. So for this book, instead of doing what we just did, I don't need to do the X. With this, now I could set this one before I bind the book and I could use the Crop A Dile, but there's no way to set this one. With this piece of equipment, I could have come all the way to the center, punched my hole, and set my eyelet right there. There was no need for this X. It's twice the supplies and it's a little harder to get the crayons in and out. It does make the crayons more secure. They're not coming out of this. And I also chose to use the bag instead of the box because this box is so flimsy, it falls apart within the first use. I've witnessed that myself. I like the idea of the Ziploc bag. It fits in here good, guys, but I really wish, and in the future I will, use the big bite. So that's what I wanted to show you. This is an example of why you would use this. Was there a workaround? Yes, but it wasn't a great workaround. For this book we already talked about, you have to have the big bite in order to set the eyelet in the center of this book. There's no other way you could have put this pen loop in this book because the Crop A Dile is limited. That's as far in as it would go. And I really wanted that pen inside my fairy storybook. So now there is this book. This book is a triple fold. Has a lot of fun things. It is the half-page calendar. It has my stationery page where you can stamp. It also has magnetic envelope, has the pens, but I want to close this book. I want to close it, but I want to have a strap go all the way around. But here's the thing, I want one strap one eyelet because I don't want it to basically show all over. I also thought about closing it this way instead of this way. If I close it this way, I would want a strap to go all the way around. I thought about just putting one eyelet here. There's multiple ways this can go. How do you think we should do it? I would like one eyelet on the back to go all the way around. But because this book is already made, there's no way I'm going to get my Crop A Dile to put an eyelet right here. It would be too hard to fit it in here because of the binding. I'm going to have to go from each end. And because of that, I need a longer reach. So I want to put a eyelet right in the center of this. Yes, I could put one on each end, but for this book, I just really want one, and that's what the Crop A Dile Big Bite is going to do. So we're going to set this on the 3/16. We're going to try to get some space in the limited camera view. I want it to be kind of centered right here. So I'm going to bring you down here again. I'm going to make sure I'm on the punch part, and I am. I have it set to the 3/16. This is where my hole is going to punch. Now I want to mark this, and it's a black surface, so I'm going to take a white marker. And I don't mind not being exact, but I want it to be about right here. So now I'm going to go into my Big Bite. I'm going to bring you down here so you can see. And I want to push just a little bit so I can see it come down. Line up my hole and punch. And you see how easy it went through one piece of cardstock, some wallpaper, and 30-point chipboard. It was very easy. Now I want to pick out my eyelet, which I'm going to pick out a black eyelet because I want it to kind of blend in. Again, you got lots of choices for color. I want to pick out my elastic. I'm going to go black elastic, black eyelet. This time my elastic has to wrap all the way around and come back to the same hole. So I need it to overlap so that I have enough to go in that hole. And I'm going to cut it at an angle to make it easier. And I'm even going to cut this little angle here. Now I'm going to feed one side in, and then I'm going to make sure that it is smooth and not crossed for the other side. This is easier than it looks. It's because of the way I'm having to hold it for the camera. Now this book is pretty thick, so I want to make sure that I have enough that it's not pulling the pages too tight. So I'm going to let out some slack. Just going to make it slightly loose. And you can get a feel for how much room you're going to have in there. I don't have exact measurements on anything because it is basically how it feels, depending on the materials you're using and how thick your book is. So it would really be impossible to know how thick everything is. Now I have 2 pieces of elastic instead of 1 inside of the hole. Now you decide if you want the pretty to be on the outside of the book, which is where this is, or the inside of the book. I want it to be on the outside because the inside is going to be hidden by the pages. The elastic is on both sides. You can still push the little eyelet through the hole. You just need to work it in there, and it goes quite easy. I'm going to straighten up the elastic without the little eyelet pushing through. There we go. Now I have the elastic have it going on each side. And I had to do that because you still have to have the hole. It has to be a hole. Now I need to set this. I would never have been able to reach it with my Crop A Dile, but I can reach it with my big bite. So we're going to set our big bite to the eyelet, because remember, this punches the hole. Make sure you set it so you're not trying to punch another hole, to the little eyelet symbol. And then I'm going to bring you back down here. I barely push to make sure it is the eyelet that I am pushing. This is the pretty smooth side, so this is the side that goes up and goes into that little peg. Once it's in that peg, all you have to do is press and remove. Now we're going to come back up here. Sorry guys, I am not a cameraman, I am a crafter. That's why I keep hitting the camera. It has been set all the way around. If it feels rough to you, smash it down a little. Using something metal, not plastic, not paper. Smash it down till it feels really smooth. Now flip it over, and you're going to cut the tails. Just simply pull it and cut. Now I have a piece of elastic. You have to get this. Yes, this is a hot mess, guys. There we go. Now I have a piece of elastic that I can open my book. I can move this and put it back. And there you have it. You have the piece of elastic held by the eyelet. You don't see the elastic on this side because it's inside the book. So you don't see everything, you only see what you want to see. And that is the piece of elastic holding. And that is why you need this piece instead of this one for the distance. So if you think your books are going to be made, or if you're willing to kind of fix things so that you don't need the bigger reach, and you're okay with the handheld, not the table, then this is the one you can go with. If you want the long reach for the fun things, such as this one, absolutely this one. If you want to have it on the table so you can push and not squeeze, then you need to go with the big bite. So even though these machines do the exact same thing, it sets the same size eyelet, it punches the same size hole, it does the same, pretty much the same deed. The only difference is the way they work, squeeze or push, and the actual reach. Now, if I wanted to measure the reach, I forgot to add, this does have a guide, just like this one. It's just, this is 1 inch and this is 6 inches. So you do get a much broader reach with the big bite than you do with the Crop A Dile. Now, I have used this in this video to show you adding eyelets and elastic to notebooks, but this was actually bought for card making. I do a lot of cards, and I like adding metal to men's cards because it gives them a more masculine look. So this is not only for elastic for these notebooks. I just wanted to do a video to show people how these work, how to add elastic to your creations using these two machines, and to compare them and show you what they do, what is different, and what is actually the same. So if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe and like. If you want to know how to make any of these notebooks, check out my other videos. There's a video on how to make all of them. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you enjoyed finding out what these two wonderful tools for your craft room can do. As always, guys, happy crafting.